And well, for more on this, we're now being joined by Peter Kuznick from Washington, D.C. He is a professor of history and director of the Nuclear Studies Institute at American University. Welcome to WION, Professor. First up, news just coming in that at least 6 explosions were heard in Tehran. Israel has said that the Israeli army is fully mobilized in offensive and defensive. And we saw those shots of the Israeli Prime Minister in the bunker at this point of time. There is no official comment from Iran yet. How do you assess the situation at this point of time in West Asia?
I think there's good news and bad news. The bad news is that Israel is striking Iran. The good news is they don't seem to be targeting the oil facilities or the nuclear facilities. This attack is ongoing. It's going to continue for a while. So we don't know yet what the final outcome is, but they seem to have targeted military sites so far, which is good. So we don't know how Iran is going to respond. Is this going to be a tit-for-tat escalation? Will Iran strike back harder now on Israel? Then Israel strike back harder on Iran? We know Netanyahu has a couple goals in mind. One goal has been to involve the United States in a war against Iran. The second goal is to get Trump elected as president in less than 2 weeks. So Netanyahu has his own agenda. He is not interested in a ceasefire. He's not interested in a peaceful resolution. So the world is hanging in the balance here because the possibility of this spreading to a full-scale regional war is still very, very real. And the other possibility is that even if it doesn't, it could trigger Iran into deciding to develop nuclear weapons as a necessary deterrent against Israel. Clearly, Iran does not have the defensive capabilities that Israel has. On top of which, the U.S. sent these additional military assets, THAAD missile system, the F-16s, the aircraft carriers. So Biden can say that, he's trying to restrain Netanyahu, but it's U.S. weapons that are being used not only to slaughter people in Lebanon and in Hamas, but now to attack inside Iran.
Right, Professor Kuznick, first up, I want to seek your assessment. You mentioned, and reports also suggest that Israel has not targeted the nuclear facilities of Iran, which was on the agenda. But in the past few weeks, we've seen a lot of talks happening between Biden and Bibi. And at this point of time, Israel has carried out limited precision strikes on Iran. Do you think that U.S. has perhaps been successful in containing tensions between Israel and Iran, with Israel clearly not targeting any of nuclear or oil facilities at this point of time?
I think that the Biden administration has managed to avoid a worst case scenario. And that's very, very important that they've succeeded in that. But they haven't succeeded in broader diplomacy. They haven't done anything effectively to constrain Israel, Netanyahu government, and to end the fighting in the area. Now, the caveat is that Donald Trump it would be even more hawkish. Donald Trump has told the Israelis that they should strike the nuclear facilities, that whatever they want to do, he approves of. So that would be even more reckless, and that would almost certainly get us involved in a broader regional war. You have to remember that Iran was just in Russia, along with Prime Minister Modi, at the BRICS summit. And the BRICS issued a very strong statement calling for a ceasefire and condemning Israeli actions in the region. Not that they are turning a blind eye to the atrocities on October 7th. They see that and they've condemned it. However, Israel's response has been so out of proportion. The slaughter in Gaza, the starvation that's going on now. You have to remember that 85% of Gaza's economy has been destroyed, that Gaza has an 80% unemployment rate, and that people are literally starving. If you see those pictures from there, the food and the medicine and the aid is not getting in. So we've got a humanitarian catastrophe on top of a three-front war right now that could turn into a much broader war.
Right. Professor Kuznick, also talk to us more about the U.S. involvement in all of this, with U.S. clearly saying that it was notified before Israel started bombing Tehran, but there has been no U.S. involvement in the latest strikes on Iran. And we had just seen on Friday that the defense secretaries of U.S. and Israel, they held that phone call and they perhaps discussed the way forward on Israel targeting Iran.
I think that's a very loose definition of involvement. The United States has provided the weapons. The United States provided the financing. The United States has helped with the intelligence and the targeting. The United States has sent the missile systems in order to defend Israel. The United States has shot down the Iranian missiles that have been coming against Israel. So to say that the United States is not involved is really to take great liberties with the language. The United States has minimally enabled Israel, but it's armed it to the teeth over the years and increased it in the past year. So while much of the world is horrified by what's going on in the region and is demanding an immediate ceasefire, the United States is paying lip service to a ceasefire, but not doing anything to really pressure the Netanyahu government to act on that.
Right, my last question to you. The impact of the latest strikes by Israel and Iran on the ceasefire talks, because we had just seen in the last few days that the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken was also in West Asia, his 11th trip, and with the Mossad spy chief also in Doha for the ceasefire talks. So what kind of an impact will these strikes have on the ceasefire talks and the hostage release issue?
Just like previous Israeli actions, like assassinating the Hamas's peace negotiator when he was in Tehran, who was considered to be a dove, a real moderate in Hamas, assassinating him, like these attacks, is a way to make sure that there are no more ceasefire talks. The Arab world, even those who are had not been friendly with Iran, are very much on Iran's side in this struggle right now, and even more so on the side of the people in Gaza and the West Bank. So whatever hope there was for a settlement in the region is out the window now. And the idea that we're going to have, as the BRICS called for, a two-state solution, the Israeli Knesset has already ruled that out, and Netanyahu has made clear that he's not going to entertain that idea. So we are tragically far away from any kind of ceasefire, any resolution.
Right, Professor Kuznick, thank you for joining us on WION with your insights.
Thank you.